always believe, this sounds really, really like hippie-ish, but everything that you do up until the moment that you do the next project will be useful in some way. Like whether it's life experience, or whether it's like managing difficult client relationships, or whether it's the skills that you picked up in your career, everything will pay off one day.
Hi George, thanks for coming on, mate.
Thank you for having me. This is good.
I know. It's one of the first podcasts you've done, or you've done one before?
I've actually done two with other people that I was planning to put on my own stuff, and then just got so busy I never edited them. So people not knowing who you are, just give a quick brief of what you do. So I started off with branding in university, was very obsessed with building brands and approaching brands from like a consumer perspective, helping people to get the look and feel of their brand right, and it was always like a gut feeling thing that I've kind of approached with branding. And then I moved into videography, animation, motion graphics, and from there effectively just kind of got into videography, and now I would call myself a documentary filmmaker. That's the goal.
Giving yourself that title, eh?
Have
you earned the title yet, or you're not too sure?
My first sort of short film / documentary is going live tomorrow. Yeah. So I'm editing last minute sound effects as I get home after this.
What, you're creating the sounds stuff for that? Was it a documentary you said?
Yeah, so it was originally so basically when I first started off doing my own thing, I basically had this very sort of short period of time, well, it wasn't that short, it felt like forever, where there was no work around. There was nothing I couldn't get clients, I couldn't give away.
When was that, when you first started out?
When I first started Native.
Oh, right, okay. We'll touch upon Native, so everyone knows what that is.
Yeah, there was nothing. I couldn't even give my work away for free. It was painful. And I was like, have I made a mistake? I thought I was pretty good at this.
Mum, I'm going to be on benefits soon. Help.
Yeah. I was actually like, this is the most like crushing thing as a creative, to not even be able to give your work away for free. Yeah. So for me, I reached out to a few people that I really respected. I found some communities that I really wanted to get involved with.
Okay.
And my girlfriend was like, I go to Dawnstalkers, which is this cold water swimming group in Penarth, which just down the road.
Yeah, I've seen those videos, class.
And so she was like, why don't you ask if you can do some filming for them, or like see what you want to make out of that. So I went down and spoke to them, had some really nice meetings with their sort of like photographer / social media kind of person, marketing person. He's a really nice guy. And we got talking about what I could make for them, and I suggested that I made a short film. Yeah. And so it's kind of come back from there, where tomorrow it's being shown live to their community. Right, nice. And then from then on it will be online so people can find it and watch it. But it's weird watching it because I've legitimately cried 4 times editing it.
Oh, is it that powerful?
Is in like, I'm not saying that I'm a genius.
You're proud of your work.
I'm not saying that I'm a genius.
Right, okay, you're still crying because your work is so amazing.
No, it's just the fact that like I get very... Like my girlfriend finds it hilarious, so I get so emotive in films. So we watch a film together. When I watch The Knight's Tale, I can't stop but hyperventilating and almost crying when like certain moments happen, especially with father and son moments. It's like this weird thing. I must have like daddy issues or something. Okay. But like, so something about like films and music especially is so emotive to me. Yeah. So when I've made this first short film I've ever made, adding soundtracks to my drone shots and to my camera movements and stuff, and the color grading and like the messaging behind the film is so in tune with what I believe that it genuinely like hit me like 4 times. And I'm not kidding when I say I've sat there and edited and it's made me cry like 4 times. I think I've counted. It was 3 until yesterday. At least you're proud of
your work then, of obviously what you started to create.
Yeah. I mean, like, because from our perspective, I've been working on social media things so long, I don't even remember what else I've done in my career at this point. We used to work together a little bit there.
Yeah, we rewind from how I met you. I met you originally when you were like, chief creative head of editing?
Yeah, I think I was head of creative when I left Aura Ads.
Yeah. So you were Aura Ads. I was downstairs filming a little podcast for a mutual friend. And then I needed a bit of Christmas money, and I come upstairs to the big dogs, and there you were, given the orders.
Pretending like I knew what I was doing.
Yeah. Well, I thought you were very good editor. So I was basically first starting out maybe 6 months into editing, and obviously I come to like your ads where you were obviously chief editor. Where I still use a lot of the stuff that you taught me then, actually, even from like silly things like prepping your footage and like having the correct folders in in certain areas. But obviously you got into that, and you've done a lot of like illustration and kind of motion graphics. How did you kind of get into that, and how did you learn about all that kind of thing?
Yeah, well, when I met you, actually, that was kind of the era where we were making stuff for Freddy's Flowers, and we were making those moving illustrations, like motion graphics pieces.
I'll try and overlay that on this little reel.
But that was some of my, to be honest, that was concept, like that concept came up between us as a team. Like we created this idea where the flowers would be illustrated, and the only color in the image would be the real colors from the flowers. So like it was something to do, it was linked to the Freddy's Flowers brand that was the case. So it's it wasn't an idea that I came up with myself, but the actual execution of it was something that I was very proud of, because at the time it was an original idea that I didn't think anyone else had done. And since then, YouTube tutorials have been made about that technique, but they were all post date from when we did that ad. So I don't think we made up copyright. I don't think we made up the idea completely. No, but I'm proud that we were kind of pushing the boundaries of what was possible. At that point.
I remember you going through frame by frame. You done something where you linked the iPad through to Premiere or the actual laptop. You went through frame by frame with like the pen and literally draw every single frame.
We posterized. So in like, for more detail about like, for editors who understand this, like we posterized time so that you took the frame rate down by half, because all good stop animations mostly are done on half speed. So not 24 frames a second, but 12. So we reduced everything down by half, and then I just illustrated by hand every single frame, every other frame basically, and then overlaid that over footage so you get this really cool transition. So yeah, hopefully you can show that, but if not, then that's kind of a word description of what it was. But
it was very good.
But like I actually think that my motion graphics stuff is basically all originated from my course in university, because I did graphic design at university and did branding, and like I was never really much of an illustrator, but when the time came and I needed to do it, I could sort of jump into that role a bit. And from there I found I had strong background in design skills then, so I knew statically what looked good and how to make a nice layout and good typography skills.
Yeah, because some of the final projects that you finished, they just look completely clean and polished and like done. Does that make sense? Yeah. Like, I watch some of my stuff back now, and then more people could tweak it, but obviously the stuff that you were putting at the time with, your old employer, it would look top notch. Well, it was top notch, really. I'm
glad that we had such a good team at the time of different people, because it was me in the early days. It was pretty much just me in post production, but we had we had someone in production who was filming at the time. We had someone who was running behind the scenes who worked incredibly hard on the ideas and client relationships, and all of that just like built towards this great product. Yeah. So it wasn't. I would never like claim that it was just me, because there was a great team there. But But it was fun to be a part of a team where I could be as sort of creative and expressive as possible. Yeah, you with these awesome people behind the side.
Yeah, because obviously you had not the final say, because obviously Big Dog Ryan had the final say, but obviously your creative input along with the other meetings you had in the morning, were obviously a massive input into obviously creating that final product.
It was good. It was if anyone who wants to get into the creative industry but doesn't want to go into, like, I spoke to someone the other day, and a junior just about to leave university. I went to a graduation show and I was talking to them, and they were talking about what I would suggest they do in the industry, where they would suggest that they go. And for me, I actually think, I could be wrong, but when I was a graduate, I spent 2 years at a design agency in Bristol, and I worked as a junior on fairly basic projects until eventually I was given a chance to do some animation, and then it sort of lit that fire in my brain. This is actually really cool. I should do more of this. But what I wish I'd done a bit earlier is experiment more with some different things. Like, I wish I'd been able to go to an agency and there almost be like this, like, sort of play pool of things I could have tried.
Like what kind of things you think?
Well, like picking up a camera, or like picking up editing. Like, instead I was just doing static design for 2 years.
Right, okay.
But like, if you think about my work now, I don't do any static stuff. No, it's all moving.
All much like motion stuff either. Yeah.
So it's like, for me, that made no sense. Like, I wish I'd done, but you don't know that until you try it. Like, I had no idea that video would be my thing until I tried it, and I was like, my brain really lights up when I see video. Like,
yeah, because when I first met you, I thought you would be out and out. Well, not first met, but obviously after editing next to you for like 3-4 days or whatever, I thought you would be pretty much out and out like a video editor, kind of motion graphics kind of, because you were like the go-to, like, especially for me learning as well.
I think I'd be doing like 6 months by the time I met you. Yeah. That was my whole career of video editing was 6 months worth of work. And I'd watched like Daniel Schiffer, like Peter McKinnon. I'd watched loads of people in video and film, and product design, and then in motion graphics as well. I'd watched so many different videos that those 6 months have been so concentrated, like it felt like 2 years. So I felt like I had that experience. Yeah. But it was all unfounded, really. Like, it was just 6 months worth of faking it till you make it, and we did it.
Well, you faked it very well, because I'd say your editing, especially your motion graphics and all, especially your stuff for After Effects as well, is more better level than mine is right now. But you might have you've obviously put that extra time in.
I think back in the day, I think my After Effects might have been stronger than yours.
Yeah.
But I think your Premiere work was stronger than mine.
Yeah, potentially.
Because I remember sitting next to you and looking over at your Premiere file, and you were doing far more on the Premiere side than I was doing. I was basically just dropping clips, color grading, cutting, timing things, music-wise and stuff. But After Effects is where I did all the heavy lifting. Like I knew...
I do all my heavy lifting in Premiere. Unless I have to do something in After Effects that requires the After Effects program, I tend to never go over to the dark side.
It's the thing is, it's actually like it's a deep purple. It's a darker. It feels like a darker program altogether. So that's not wrong. That's not wrong.
It's just it's the thought of it scares me. Just even from the layout, learning if you obviously start on any sort of editing program, whether it be Premiere or whether it be like DaVinci Resolve, when you become used to a platform, even Premiere and After Effects are in obviously the Creative Cloud, Adobe Creative Cloud. Going over to After Effects, it's just haunting. Just even like the project layout and just stuff like that, it just daunts me. And then obviously you were doing a lot of speed ramps in After Effects because you had more control over it. But I still now to this day do all my speed ramps and stuff in Premiere.
To be fair, I've changed that since I left. I've learned more about speed ramping in Premiere, and I do prefer it than in After Effects. There's a couple of times when I would still switch over to After Effects to use it, but like they're very niche. But like most of the time now, my speed ramping would be in Premiere, because the reason for that back in the day was because we had so much motion graphic stuff going on. It was really hard to visualize where that speed ramp came in. For example, on my Premiere timeline with my After, I'd be able to switching back all the time. So it just made more sense to switch over. But like now, you'd find me mostly in Premiere. It's a weird time because like since I started my own company, I've done less motion graphics and more filmmaking.
So yeah, we'll talk about that now. So you left those Euro ads where you kind of like learned your basics, kind of the fundamentals, maybe where you wanted to go in your career. What kind of made you like leave there? Is it just you kind of wanted to go on your own path and you thought, right, I've got the fundamentals now. I got the business, mindset, and I know what I want to do.
Yeah, it was weird. Like so it's a strange transition because the CEO and me were very, very good friends, and we still are really good friends. We still meet buddies. Up, and you probably know Ryan still.
Oh yeah, he's a lovely gentleman.
He's a really good guy, and we were really good mates. We still are really good mates. We like hang out quite regularly, and so there was no bad blood. There was nothing that majorly made me want to leave.
No.
But when I originally started at Aura Ads, I originally thought that I was happy working for someone else forever, and that I didn't need to work for myself, even though in my childhood I'd done like those basic entrepreneur things at school, and it felt quite exciting to me. I still wasn't really. I was like, I want to make things forever. I don't want to have to worry about business or anything like that. I want to just make things, and if I'm making stuff, I'll be happy. So I thought I'll join an agency, just become like the best creative that I can be, and just enjoy making stuff, and then that'll be my life. But I think something changed in my brain. The business started to evolve and change, and like when you first probably met Ryan and met the early team, there was 3 people, and in 2 years we scaled to 25, and we scaled that company so fast. So like, there was nothing wrong with that, but things do change in that time period, 100%, and sometimes people change. And I think I found that I actually wanted to I wanted to get my hands on a camera a bit more. I wanted to make things. But what happened was, like, me and Ryan still talk about this, I actually kind of forced myself into performance marketing. So I actually moved away from making things entirely, and I just looked at the data, and then I helped our creative teams at Aura Ads to make our ads better by looking at the data. So then I actually had an understanding of performance marketing too. But what I didn't understand was how unhappy that would make me without making stuff. So we still talk about that, like me consciously making that call to try and move into performance marketing and asking Ryan to give me that chance. I shouldn't have made that call and Ryan tried to stop me from doing it at the time. He was like, I would probably advise you don't do that.
Man, being your employee.
Well, he was like, he knew me, and he was like, you're not going to be happy. Like, you like making stuff. And I didn't listen to him at the time. And so I moved into performance marketing. I understood that. And then after that sort of milestone was achieved, I did that. I just felt that there was something more that I wanted to do and some other projects I wanted to work on.
So when did you go your own way? When did you then set up Native as it is now?
So then I left Aura Ads and went to work for an agency called John and Jane.
Okay,
and
I didn't realise.
Yeah, so I spoke to them, and we kind of talked back and forward, and effectively what happened was I said, look, I want to make my own thing. I'm going to be fully honest. I want to make my own thing. I'm a good motion graphic designer. I'm a good designer.
Yeah.
Can I come work for you for 3 days a week at kind of a reduced rate, but you pay my bills, and then the other 2 days a week I start my own agency?
Yeah.
Like, can I do that? And they said, actually, we'd love to have you for as long as possible.
Okay, cool.
So then I just basically did motion graphic design for them, did no filmmaking, but just motion graphics and animation and design for them for 6 months. 8 months.
So you're still creating at that point, but you haven't
still
quite gone into picking up a camera yet.
But like, so I'd been using cameras and stuff through that time period. Yeah. But this is the period where I was talking about earlier, where I had no work. I couldn't get any clients.
So at least you had that job in the background just to.
So that was my thought process was like, I'm not going to lose my income entirely and go cold turkey. And I'm glad I did not, because that would have been awful. But like, I'm going to work for someone else, earn some money, and then try my own thing at the same time. I had no idea it would work, so I was just like, let's dip my toe in a bit. And then from there, I've respected John and Jane and went seen their work for years. They came in and gave a talk at my university, so
cool.
I admired them for a long time, and then eventually got a chance to work for them. And that was like, in itself, that would have been a dream of mine at university to work for them, because I loved their work. But weirdly, I'd never thought of that being a part of it, because I never thought of myself as a designer. After I moved to War Ads, I was like, I'm not a designer anymore.
No.
So I'd never get the chance to work with them, but then it popped up. And then throughout that time period, I was trying to start my own company. And then come the 1st of January, I won a huge client who I was really happy to have won, and couldn't really believe that I'd managed to get that proposal in and won it. And we had a meeting on the 1st of January with, I had a meeting with John and Jane team. And they were like, we think it's time for you to go and do your own thing now.
Spread your wings now,
that's exactly their words. And I was like, I'm not sure. Like, this seems quite scary.
I'm scared.
Yeah. And they were like, no, we think it's time. Like, we can see the signs. We know, because they started their own company, and they were like, we see the same things that we
That's
saw.
good that they saw that in you, though. And they obviously had that belief in you for you to just go and start doing your own thing then.
Yeah. That was a nice sort of like comfort to know that they were there. They were helpful. They wanted me to succeed. And since then, I've done projects with them as a freelancer. We've met up and had dinner together. Like, me and my partner have met up with them and had dinner. And it's nice to not burn those bridges, like to keep those relationships healthy, because, they are such nice people. They could have flat out said no to someone that's going to come on board for like however long,
part-time, and then maybe fuck you over and just disappear.
Yeah. But they were nice enough to believe in me and to go like, maybe we should give a creative a chance to start their own thing. But they also knew that I wasn't competing with them, that I was doing motion graphics, they do branding. Like, it's different things.
So what made you set up Native then? Like, kind of what made you make that first plunge into that kind of avenue?
So I realised that quickly my interests outside of work were turning into just outdoorsy stuff, like climbing, surfing.
You love climbing. I see all your climbing stuff on your Insta.
And like, I realised that my life was, I loved the outdoors. I've always loved the outdoors.
Yeah.
So like surfing, climbing, van life, like climbing mountains at stupid times in the morning, like you sent me the message the other day.
Get those sunrises.
Yeah, like that's what I live for these days.
Yeah.
And when I realised that, I was like, how cool would it be to just film outdoors content? And still not there. Like I still do projects for clients all the time that aren't exactly what I would.
And the clients that you got are native?
Yeah, they're all native clients now.
Oh, okay.
So I get hired mostly because people know me.
Yeah.
But people are gradually knowing me as native. Like,
right, got you.
Effectively, this short film that I'm releasing tomorrow, there was a turning point in my mind where I realised that I wasn't just this was going to work. And I remember the exact moment it happened, because I went down to the sea, and one morning I filmed with them for 3 weeks in the ocean every day at sunrise, and it was cold every single day. And luckily I was wearing a wetsuit because I had to hold the camera in my arms, and I was like trying not to shake because it was so cold.
God. Did you have one of those rigs around it as well, so that it stays waterproof?
Yeah, I've got a waterproof diving housing, so you can film in the water and stuff. So I bought that with my last money. It cost me like 800 quid to buy that.
They're
housing.
Expensive.
Yeah, and
if you want a decent one,
I was like, I'm going to be there for 3 weeks filming. I do not want to be using those little bag things that you can buy. And I was like, these might be great for the one-off, but for 3 weeks in a row, I want to enjoy this process. I don't want to be freaking out and worried about the camera. So I bought one with no money. Like, I had no money left. And my girlfriend was just like, what are you doing? Like, why have you just bought
There's
something
always got to be someone responsible in the relationship.
That you're going to use for 2 weeks, and then you're never going to use it again. And she's not quite that wrong, but like, yeah. So, but basically that was my mindset, was like, every project needs to be as good as possible. So I will invest everything that I have to make that project as good as it possibly can be. So then, I went down. Sorry, I was at the sea. I'm going off tangent, and I was filming. And then afterwards, I think I put my camera away. I went to go and grab a coffee with the coffee guy that's there. He's like a really nice dude. And I went to grab a coffee with him. And someone else was talking behind me, and they were like, "Oh, there's a guy down here filming a documentary. It's called like Native Social." I was like, I could just like hear it over my shoulder. I was just like sitting there.
He's talking about me.
Yeah, and I was just like, it's finally happened. Like someone has talked about me as a company, not just as
just
like
George with a camera.
Yeah, it's like they finally look at you as a business. And I remember that moment being like, this is pretty cool.
So was that your first client? The one you releasing a short film on?
No, actually, I'd had a couple of like other little pieces before, but they were just like very short bits of social content to kind of like get your name in the door and like.
Right, okay.
But this was the first major project, yeah, for sure.
And how have you found like niching down? So obviously you've gone from like editing and motion graphics, and now you're obviously classing yourself as a documentary filmmaker. Like how do you go from that to doing what you're doing now?
Yeah, it's a weird one. I don't think you ever really let go of the person that you've trained to be all that time.
Yeah,
like I said to you, just because projects that come my way nowadays aren't all outdoors doesn't mean I say no, and doesn't mean I don't love them.
You gotta pay the bills, and yeah.
But also because I do love working with people, and so sometimes, like I don't think the branding, the designer person in me is ever going to disappear. Which is you change your style based on the client. So like for me as a designer back in the day, I couldn't be happy just doing like, I only do handmade logos. I only do lettered logos. Like that wouldn't be a thing. You would change your style based on the needs of the client and the customer and the market that they're in. And so as a filmmaker now, I don't look at myself as like really a filmmaker very much. I see myself as like a bit of a designer, but for motion. Right, so like my style and the speed of my documentaries and like the pacing and the structure will all change based on the narrative and the client that I'm working with. So like, I think that those days have just benefited me because now the amount of times that I've heard, this is not like to my own horn, but like the amount of times I've heard a client say, it feels like us, or like, you must hear this as well. Yeah. Like it feels like us, or like that really tells our story and makes us feel that emotion.
Yeah. You're able to like capture what that business or that company's all about. And basically portray that through video content.
Because that's just branding. Like at the end of the day, you're nailing down on what that brand is made out of, the values, the messaging that they are, the people that brand makes up, and then you're just putting it into a video format.
Are you finding you're like trying to absorb yourself a lot with their branding and what their company's about before you actually go and deliver a project?
It depends what it is, I suppose. Like you must have the same thing as well. Sometimes it can be a coffee's worth, and I can know what I need to do, and I can visualize it already, and I'm like, that's what I'm going to film.
You need to go and watch their YouTube for the last like 3 hours just to absorb every kind of marketing they've done, or like video marketing they've put out.
But it's also just down to styling, isn't it, as well? Like I worked for a brand in London recently who make travel luggage, and for me to work with them, I needed to understand what they shot before, the styling that they chose, and the reason why they did it that way. And you know, some of the decisions that I'd seen face value about their brand and the way it'd been filmed before, the way it'd been photographed before, you might question and be like, why? I wonder why they did it that way. I wonder why that was shot that way. But in reality, there was a whole load of reasons why that had been done and why they wanted to be seen this way. And so then when I realized that, I was like, okay, that means that this project has a certain set of parameters that I need to work within. I can't just be wild and just do whatever I want. And that's the other thing as well. Becoming the difference between a designer and an artist is the artist just makes things in their style, and if you don't like them, don't hire them. But a designer will make things based on function and purpose, which is basically what we do. Which is when a brand wants a video, we're designers for that brand. We fit into you, not you fit into us. Yeah. If we were artists, they would fit into us.
It sounds like you delve a lot more into actual what it might take to produce a video. So sometimes you might have a client that come up to you and they say, right, we want this video. I don't know, for example, we're launching a new restaurant and we want you to come shoot like a minute video about our restaurant, get a bit of chef, get a bit of food. But it sounds like you're delving a lot more into what the company's about, maybe what their needs are, maybe where they will go forward with marketing and branding. It sounds like you're basically encompassing also like basically marketing and video all together really with branding as well.
Yeah, so like that's effectively, that kind of leads me on nicely to answer your question about like what Native is, because Native was my idea of a marketing and branding agency that effectively like aligns perfectly with your branding and encapsulates your general marketing like structure and the goals and aims of your campaigns, and hopefully that I could create content that would like service these brands and these marketing pieces in the fullest way possible. But effectively, Native was founded on the idea of creating an agency that was focused on sustainability and future thinking brands. Like those are my two priorities when it comes to clients.
So those are the clients you kind of go after. Is like
those... So like I have now a 3-year standing relationship with Forestry England and Forestry Commission. So I work with them. They make up like a large portion of the work that I do, as well as other sustainable brands and other future thinking brands. So for me, it's important that that brand integrity like stays strong. And effectively, when I started Native, to sum it up into one sentence, was I wanted to be the Patagonia of marketing agencies.
You love that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Do you use that on like on your videos?
No, there's something I thought of ages ago, and it's the perfect way I can describe it, because Patagonia stand for so many of the values that I also stand for, and they align themselves with so many companies that I also would like to align myself with, that for me, it's a very easy way to explain to the public what it is that I want to do.
So how do you go about finding these, niche clients, I'd say, within the video industry?
I don't think it's really not simple at all. And like you would also testify to this. When I worked at John & Jane, I learned a lot from them about branding, because they only work with specific types of clients. Well, not always, but they generally work with a specific field of clients. And they know their clients really well. They have really healthy relationships with their clients. They are amazing at customer service, and like their communication is perfect. And I was like, if I can ever strive to have good client relationships or like work with clients in a specific way, I'd like it to be like this, because they just do it so well. So when I was there, I took lots of notes in my head about like what I should do to be a better customer service person, how I should communicate with people, how I should be reliable, and all these sorts of things. So they effectively and then one of the messages that Gareth kept saying to me from John & Jane was, the work that you put out will define the work that you get back. So like, he was basically saying, if you don't want to do motion graphics, like for example, if we just put it into plain words, if you don't want to do motion graphics, don't put motion graphics out there. If you do want to work with sustainable brands, put sustainable work out there. And like, as you might notice on my Instagram, there's almost nothing on there that's studio focused.
No
motion graphics.
It's all van life stuff.
It's not all van, but it's like outdoorsy.
Do you find that hard then? Because obviously when you first starting off Native, I know obviously you talk about branding, obviously you want to go down this particular avenue, but obviously at the end of the day you need to pay your overheads. Did you find that really hard not to maybe sidetrack and just do a general kind of studio shoot and just kind of stick with what Native's all about and shoot that kind of content?
I won't lie, in the early days I just did whatever came my way that didn't go against my ethics completely, and that paid my bills, because I needed to earn the money. I had no work, so I kind of just did a bit of everything, and very quickly as well I learned what I did and didn't like doing, and then fortunately for me, like touch wood, it will keep working that way, and I keep getting to working with cool clients.
So the stuff that you did do at the beginning, just to obviously bring home the bacon, you then obviously you're not really putting that on your actual socials for Native, because you obviously want to make sure Native is pushing the brand, and obviously you're going down, so you're just doing that to obviously make money. And the stuff that then is Native orientated, that's the stuff you push out to the wider world, so they can then obviously look, like, this guy's niche down in this particular market. We align with these kind of principles, and this is why we want to work with you guys. Yeah,
so I think like I definitely still take clients that aren't necessarily what it is that I put out there in the world, and I think that it doesn't turn clients off to the fact that you still create good work, you still create awesome things, you're still a good communicator, you're still a good project manager. So like an email just came in literally before I just got here for a project that is so far like out of field for what I typically do, and I'm actually really excited to give it a go. Like,
does that like intrigue your interest, and you kind of think, oh, is this something I can push the boundaries that I've not done before?
Exactly, and it's fine to say that you work in a certain sector, but then it's also quite fun to stretch your creative muscles and just have a go at something else. Like, all the skills that you've learned will transfer nicely over to another project, and the same thing goes for different industries too. Like, all the design skills that I learned in the early days are useful now these days. I used to do hand lettering as exclusively. I used to think I was going to be a hand lettering artist.
Right at the bottom of your Instagram, I just go all the way down.
Delete it before you see it now. But that stuff still comes in handy sometimes. Like, you're designing a bit of motion graphics and you want the lettering to draw itself in. You know exactly how those strokes work, because your hands have done it so many times. So it's like, this weird how I always believe, this sounds really, really like hippie-ish, but I always believe that the stuff that you've done everything that you do up until the moment that you do the next project will be useful in some way.
Yeah.
Like whether it's life experience or whether it's like managing like difficult client relationships or whether it's the skills that you've picked up in your career, everything will pay off one day. The amount of times that I've walked into a project that I should have no idea how to execute, and because I did some random piece of work doing some character animation like 4 years ago, I'm suddenly able to go like that. We need a VFX supervisor here, or we need something here, and like it's powerful to know all of these different people and to have had these different experiences. And like the thing that I say about project management and go to creative directors is, whilst I would never ever dream of classing myself as a VFX person ever, because I've no experience with like not truly doing VFX. Like I've done some motion graphics and some cool trickery with
like
cameras
the basics
sometimes.
kind of stuff, though,
but I've done entry level stuff, but I've never done advanced high level VFX. But what I have done is watch loads of I can't remember the name of the company now. They do loads of behind the scenes CGI breakdowns. Corridor Crew. I've watched hundreds of episodes of Corridor Crew, so I understand a little bit of an insight into how professional grade CGI is created and the programs that they use. And once you watch like 20 episodes of that, you'd be like, well, After Effects kind of is the starting point of some of those things. And they talk about clean plates and they talk about other things. And when you start to understand a bit more of their mindset and understand how their industry works, you're like, I could probably manage a project with VFX artists in it, not be able to do it myself, but I could manage the relationships between the end goal, the client and the VFX artist, and understand a bit about their work process, not overpromise their time, not under deliver. So I think it's so important to have just like this wildly different set of experiences across your life that will suddenly then all contribute to one project you never thought you would.
Yeah, so like looking at that, and obviously Native's all set up, and you've worked with some quite big names, I'd say. Like some ones you can obviously like say like, you know, Native, and then you'd be like Disney Plus. Yeah,
actually. So yeah, something to caveat from there is actually, we didn't discuss this earlier, but a Native, like Disney, I worked as part of a team on the Disney Plus thing. It wasn't like a Native client.
Yeah.
So I worked under another agency to create that content.
Right,
so I wouldn't necessarily be able to put that on my website and be like, that's a Native production thing.
Is that more you as a self-employed
that
kind
was
of
more me as a
kind of
freelancer,
filmmaker?
So I've worked with some big names, and luckily I've had that chance through friends and through agencies that I work with that are really great and good partnerships there. But they're not like, I'm kind of being white labeled for those projects. So I'm just being hired in as like DOP or like someone else. So I wouldn't say that like necessarily those are my clients, because they're not. But I've also managed to find some clients since the early days of being white labeled quite a lot. And if anyone
say white label,
when someone doesn't know what that means, white labeling is effectively,
I don't even know what it means. So
do you not?
Educate me, please.
White labeling, as far as I know, is when you have a service that a brand needs or another group needs, and they want you to jump in under their brand name and not be labeled as yours. So like companies do this all the time. I think, without sounding slanderous, there's some products out there like some chocolate like Jaffa cakes. They're actually all like the Sainsbury's Jaffa cakes and the Jaffa cakes all made in the same place. They leave the factory the same, all the same recipe,
but
and then they get branded in different boxes. So that's called white labeling. Yeah,
technically, I'm a white labeled person then, because I know there's a company I work for. They're a media company, but I work under them as a videographer.
So in that scenario, you're being white labelled,
so I'm being white labelled at the moment.
It sounds like a dirty term, doesn't it?
I feel offended.
It sounds like a dirty term for some reason, but it's a good for any videographers that want experience and want to have an amazing portfolio, like an offline portfolio that's not shown to like the world on your website. As long as you have that relationship with someone that you can share that work, it's like a really great opportunity and a window into these huge level clients that you never would have had the chance to work with.
Yeah, that's the
thing. And you immediately get to level up your work and put your name out there next to these brands. So like I went to London and worked with Sky Mobile and Jamie Leng, and I got to work with a really cool DOP, and I didn't mind like going and being...
Is that your first time being on like a set?
Proper set, yeah.
It's intimidating, isn't it?
It was crazy. Like people come along, just take the cards out of your camera, go in, clear them, bring them back. People change the batteries.
Do they have a lot of...
weird.
A lot of lingo.
They do have some lingo, and you're mic'd up as well. So like you're talking across. We had 2 units shooting at the same time.
Yeah.
So I was unit 2, and the DOP was unit 1, and communicating between those 2 units was experience as well, because like I wasn't really even used to lingo such as like can we turn over, like rolling, like speeding?
mental,
And it was like, before I went in, I watched some BTS of directors on set.
Because you were just
I was like, I need to know.
Oh my God, what am I getting myself into?
Because all this crew had been together for ages.
Yeah,
so I was like, I can't
in.
just walk into the room and just be this completely
So
green.
what did you come in as? What was your
I was
role?
just a videographer.
Right, okay. Just like a cameraman, like videographer then, yeah?
Yeah, so we had a DOP. Me and the DOP spoke beforehand about how we were going to shoot it.
Were you the only videographer, or?
Yeah, so
Okay.
the DOP was also shooting in Unit 1. I was shooting in Unit 2. So
Yeah.
technically I was like I was helping to direct my unit.
This is you using the lingo again. Unit 1, obviously the camera.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I just...
Yeah.
It's funny how like the lingo that obviously they use is like completely different to maybe like the freelance world or anything like that.
Well, yeah. Because like when we work together, we just use language that makes sense to us.
What the things are actually called.
Well, things are actually called sometimes.
Yeah, because
like,
I remember being on one shoot. Like I was hired in to be a drone pilot, and I'd done the filming with the drone and stuff. And then at the end of the day, it was down in Cardiff, and they said, "Oh, can we have your riffs?" I don't know if you know what riffs
I actually
are.
don't know what that is.
And I was like, riffs? He's like, yeah, from your camera, your riffs. And then I just put two and two, yeah, with your footage on them, I put two and two together. And luckily, I didn't make myself too much like a twat. But I said, oh, you mean the SD cards? And he's like, yeah, the SD cards. I was like, well, then to myself, I was like, why are they called riffs when they're SD cards? But obviously, you're talking about a lot of lingo that they use on sets, like turnover.
Yeah.
You know.
So like turnover is when they're like, I don't even want to get this wrong now, but because it's been such a long time.
Isn't it basically when they start rolling the cameras like 4 seconds before, like they turn over the cameras and they get that big clapper thing,
Clapperboard, yeah,
and then that's when they actually film from.
Yeah, so turning over effectively is the camera guy getting the footage roll, like as in pressing
you
record,
actually physically
getting the camera
recording
going.
the camera,
and then you got the sound guy that says speeding.
Yeah, I didn't realize.
Or sound speeding.
Yeah.
I would say speeding to say that the camera's rolling and to confirm with the director that I'm ready to go, or rolling, as some people say. I think I could be getting this completely wrong because I had one experience of this, and it was a really cool experience. But I also talk about why maybe I wouldn't do so many of those again, but who knows? But like so effectively. Yeah, the sound guy will say like his line, I would say my line, director's ready to go. She'll check with talent that they're ready. And then she would say like, we should say like action. We have the clapperboard guy come in, like do the clapperboard.
Yeah, that's it, clapperboard.
So it's like, it's an interesting experience. The only thing that I was going to say, which I enjoyed on the day and I left feeling like so high, like I left feeling like amazing that we had this awesome experience and the quality of the output was so much higher because of all these people on set.
Yeah, you've got basically everyone's got one specific job. You're not like a videographer where you like trying to check the mics, you're making sure the frame's right, the talent's okay, and the camera as well.
And the amount of times that we turn up to a shoot, and this is no one's fault, it's just what happens, is that things go wrong, things don't happen.
Yeah.
Like you're sat with headphones on, trying to make sure the talent's happy, trying to make sure that the audio is working, the video is right, everything's good. And you have 20 minutes to get all that set up, and and then you've got to shoot, or you got to get out of there again because like people don't have that much time in the real world.
Yeah.
You would like to believe that you have 4 hours to set up a cinematic lighting scenario, but sometimes you just have to do the things that's tried and tested that you know would work really well, and just do it and execute. And that's it.
You've got to be the guy that does everything from sound to lighting to running the cameras, checking the talent.
When you're a crew that big, there was someone there just focused on sound, and my hands were like completely wiped clean of
like
having
all
to worry about
is just
audio.
pressing record.
Effectively directing lighting, because we didn't have anyone looking on lighting, so that was more of my job as well.
Yeah.
So there was still some things that were like my job, but it was like angle lighting and making sure that everyone else was kind of ready. On the day, you'll find that you actually get involved with far more than just what your job description says, because things go wrong all the time.
Did you enjoy that aspect though, not like learning other things within the industry?
I did, for sure. But the only thing that I was about to go on to that maybe that isn't that, the thing is that the things that I like about videography is I like going to amazing weird places and having everything on my back that you could possibly need to make an amazing film.
Right, got you.
And I love that idea. So all my kit is designed, all my kit that fits into my rucksack, this big like low pro, like big camping rucksack with a photography bit at the bottom. All of that is how small can I make my kit with still getting like amazing, the highest quality. So effectively, that to me, that's the dream, is like making films off one person's back, and this kind of run and gun style that I think both of us quite like.
Yeah, I definitely prefer that kind of style.
Yeah, but then again, like I said, there is no way that I would turn down some of these amazing opportunities that you get
absolutely
to work with some incredible brands, and it's nothing to do with what I actually enjoy day to day. So like,
but it's nice taking you outside that comfort zone, because there's no harm in obviously pushing your boundaries, but you may then pick up further clients down the road and say, oh, George was really good as a DP or like cameraman, like we should get him on the next week. And at the end of the day, it's just more, you're learning more stuff about the industry, you're gaining more knowledge, and you're also building your client base as well, because they may then look to take you on for other jobs.
Yeah, and that's the weird thing as well about this industry, and for graduates to think about when they get into the industry as well, is that you will never know where your next client's coming from. And the amount of times that I've taken on a job which is nothing to do with like my normal day to day, like I worked for someone in Dubai recently on some illustrations for a children's mental health app, right? Called Yoo-Hoo, which is an awesome app, like awesome brand, and I did some illustrations for him. And from there, I was then asked to make an animation, and
For the same company? Oh, okay.
of those illustrations. But my background is now, I would say, more in animation than in illustration. Illustration wasn't really my thing, but he'd seen some of my work. I felt confident I could execute what he needed, and we did it, and it worked. And from there, I then had an animation job, and now I might have a filming opportunity with him over
and where
here.
do these people find you? Or where did they find you?
Just like the most powerful thing, which is strange to say from someone who does digital marketing, is word of mouth and just referrals and just meeting people in real life.
Your bread and butter is like digital marketing as well.
Yeah, I know, it's super weird though, because
that's where you come from originally.
Yes, it's super weird because I always thought that like there's a very powerful thing that you can spot some brands do, like some brands that we've worked with back in the day when I was working at Aura Ads. Some of the most powerful marketing strategies were just, here is when you buy our first product, we're going to give you a free one, send your friend, and like our product might be worth £20. And that might sound like quite an expensive thing to do. So like half the population might be giving something for free from your brand away. But those companies scaled like dramatically in their first year. Because
so what was they doing? They were doing.
So what
like
they would do is like,
good...
for example, Freddie's Flowers. In the early days, I'm fairly sure from speaking to their team, they would give. I mean, I've ordered one of their boxes, so I know. One of their boxes of flowers would arrive, and like say you bought it for your girlfriend or whatever, or like anyone. The box would arrive, and inside would be a, effectively like a voucher or coupon. But it wasn't just like £10 off your next purchase. It was, you can send flowers to someone else and brighten their day for free. Like we will send it to wherever you want to go in the UK.
It's good marketing.
For free. And imagine the hit they must have taken in that first year. But instead of just like 10,000 people knowing your brand, you then knew 20,000 people knew your brand. But then from those people, they're going to share it again.
It's like 40,000.
So you keep growing. So like when you're a freelancer and you're on set, never switch off and never be grumpy. That always be on, and make sure that you're talking about what it is that you love and care about. And like, I'm sure I'm going to come across weird some people and like weirdly passionate and like so talkative and aggressive about the things that I love. But in reality, the amount of times people have spotted that passion and been like, he really loves this thing. Like, let's hire him for that thing. So I just say constantly, like, I hate the word networking because it makes me feel really like...
Yeah, I'm terrible at networking.
Weird.
I'm crap at it.
But
I
like,
try my hardest.
When you're on set, though, do you
I don't go on set much because usually, like, most of my work is either myself or I'm hired out to, like, a media company and I do their work for them. So it's hard for me to talk about my own stuff because technically I'm there on behalf of that media company, if that makes sense. So like white labeling. So
you couldn't really do that on set. You have to be careful when you do it. I would say, like, I've worked in similar situations to you, where I work with people, and I was there on behalf of another agency, and I just keep my mouth shut. I do my job. I'm sociable. I'm very friendly, and I try to be as close to the rest of their team and not stray too far away, and respect the fact that that is their client. You're working for them.
You got to shoot how
you have a job to
like,
do. Like, but when you've been hired in and people know your name and you're in the email chain and they know that you're from a different company and they know that you're your own person, then I think it's fine to not like be pushy and aggressive, but just to like
maybe suggest a different shot or like suggest maybe lighting something different. But this would look sick.
Or not even that sometimes. Like genuinely just chatting. Like I was on set the other day in London and I met a makeup artist who had just finished her job, like getting all the models ready. Then came over, all the talent, sorry, I should say, and then came over and talked to me and was talking to me about my job and was really interested in what I was doing. She's really friendly. And we ended up talking about her husband's work, who is a photographer and likes sustainable outdoor media stuff. And I was like, weird, because that's the stuff that I do. And then turns out he's desperate to try and get into some more outdoorsy stuff like that, and he's trying to find his way in, but he can't find a way in.
Through the photography world, kind of thing.
Photography world, because he lives in London. So like, where's he going to find clients?
Just concrete jungle.
Yeah. So then she was like, any chance that I could like send you his portfolio and you could have a look, and then maybe if you have another project comes up that needs a photographer.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about it, because then technically you're growing your, I don't know if you want to call it agency, but you're growing your business where you offer the video stuff, but then you can also offer a bolt-on photography kind of section as well.
Yeah, but also provide chances for other freelancers and other people in the industry that are far better than me at what they do. Like, I don't pretend to be good at everything. When a job comes around that needs a very like niche skill that I don't have, or a skill that should be very, very high quality and I'm mediocre at it, I will hire someone else to do that job, because like at the end of the day, the client and their brand is the most important thing in that scenario. And like, just because I might get a bigger pay wedge if I do it myself, it doesn't leave me feeling good. It doesn't leave me feeling good if I then do a bad job because I'm not skilled in that skill. Yeah,
because it's hard to draw the line whether you think, do I take all this money home myself, or do I create a better product for the client and hire in someone that is, maybe their skills are far more advanced than what mine are at this current stage?
Yeah, and it's a really, really important thing to be mindful of and be like self-critical of who you are and like what your skill set is, and not in like a destructive way, but just know it's good to punch up, it's good to be confident and to kind of take on a little bit more than you can handle and force yourself to grow. That's good. But when it's at the expense of the end product, you need to be very careful where that line is, because if that client's not happy, you're not going to get paid anyway, because you might end up refunding them because it's so bad.
Yeah.
So that means you've lost two sets of money, that you could have had some money by hiring someone else who was good and would have executed well, and you would have made some money. But now your name's like kind of tarnished. You've lost money and you're not going to get hired ever again. But instead you could have hired a team, looked really good and been a project manager, and the client might have come back to you again in the future and asked to hire them then through you.
So running your business, do you then sometimes think, I'm going to either do this as a one-man kind of band, or for this particular client, I need to bring a team together for it to maybe look like a larger production, so their money's, it looks like they're spending their money wisely, and that's why
yes and no. I never hire anyone just to look like we're a bigger production. I would only ever hire someone if they bring value to the product, because more people generally brings more problems in like a non-toxic way. Human beings have margins for error. We have mistakes we can make. I make mistakes all the time. So the less people involved generally makes for a better product. But to a certain point, because I can't do much without a good team of people around me. And as I'm discovering now, it's very lonely being on your own, and the end product sometimes isn't better because you're on your own, because you have less brains to bounce the ideas off. And
I find my creative inspiration obviously is far better when I'm with a group of people. Like, unless, like, when I'm by myself, I only draw inspiration from maybe watching content that I consume. Like, if I'm there, if someone comes to me with a pitch and I try and think of an idea, I'd find it much, much easier if I had a team around me to do that. Like, it's just far more easier to do it that way.
Well, I feel sorry for my girlfriend and my friends around me because of this. Like, since I've gone solo, I must just chat so much shit about business and like and client ideas and stuff. Like, my girlfriend's basically gone from doing her own job to then doing two jobs, which is being like listen to me and then also and my ideas, and then helping me to get through that as well. Because like, it's a really hard thing. And so I'm actually taking on, I'm having someone to come to kind of do some work experience with me next month, and that will be a really cool experience, because it would be nice to share some of my life with and my business with someone else.
Are you full time now with your business?
Yeah.
Is that consuming?
Since 1st of Jan.
Yeah. So it's going well then.
Yeah, I'd say it's gone pretty well. I constant in the early days, every week that I had more work, I was like, thank God it's still working. And now it's a little bit more relaxed. I'm like, I have work for the next 4 weeks. I have a month ahead.
So are you working on like a month per month basis, or are you getting people on like retainers? Like, how do you kind of secure yourself for the months leading on?
That's a good question. Generally, I don't have a single retainer going. I don't have any long-term retainers. The only thing that I have that I could call close to a retainer is actually just having an awesome client like Forestry England, who's managed to prop me up for like the for like generally about 2 years.
So they cover your fundamentals for every month. So they cover
Effectively, all my bills are covered by at least one project
client.
with Forestry England or one project with Forestry Commission.
Got you.
But like the thing with that is you have to be careful. So effectively, government bodies and civil servant bodies of companies, they are required by law to take quotes from 3 people every time they need a job done. It doesn't really matter how small the job is. It still has to be 3 different quotes, and that's to prove that you're not just like picking one of your mates and just paying them every time. You need to do it rated on performance and quality of work. So luckily for me, I found a client who I get along with really well.
Yeah.
It aligns with my goals. It aligns with my values. I've made some really good friends at Forestry England, but also my work has consistently proven to be like good quality and within their budget every single time. So I do get hired for a lot of their projects. There are many other creatives that work for Forestry England. It's not just me. There's a wide team of creatives and lots of freelancers too. So there's always room for new people. But luckily for me, I've managed to carve out quite a good name for myself in their business.
That's
and like,
good.
So I would say, if you're looking to get into this business, there's no problem with being white labeled and being like brought, like, you know this, like working for another company who's going to pay your bills.
Yeah, my white label people I work for, like they cover all my bills.
Exactly.
And some.
And that's great. That's so good for you.
The only thing as a creative, but the only thing is as a creative, obviously it has an effect on like, you know, the stuff that you're able to put out yourself then.
That's the only issue.
That's the big issue.
Because that's the thing as well, is that while I say I have worked with Sky Mobile and Disney Plus, I can't put either of those on my website because they're not my clients.
Yeah, it's the same for me.
Yeah.
Like I enjoy some of the content I shoot for them, but predominantly the majority of their content is like your real estate stuff. So like your property stuff. So it's a good source of income for me. And obviously camera operating stuff is what I want to do, but it's not like my end goal.
But that's what we were talking about earlier, wasn't it? About how you don't show the stuff that you would, you only show the stuff that you really want to do. Because I haven't seen much of that. Obviously, I know you can't share it. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, even if you could share it, I doubt you would have put much of that up because
it's like
it's not exactly what you would love.
Yeah, if you looked
at
my Instagram, you'd probably think I was like a travel
I think you'd be a car enthusiast from all the Lamborghini and like...
Yeah, but if you look at it recently, for my recent trip, like it's just all...
That looked insane.
It's just all... And do you know what?
We haven't talked about that. Talk to me about it. Tell me. I haven't. I want to hear about that trip.
Me and my girlfriend went away for one of my best mates' weddings, and
I didn't even know where you were there.
Yeah, we went there for a wedding, but basically we went to Florence. But then my thing of the wedding was to go up to the Dolomites. Yeah. So I took the drone with me and just went full blast with the drone, like, reels every day. But yeah, like I first got into, like, I say filmmaking, but drones and stuff like that from, you know, living in Abergavenny and like having the Brecon Beacons on my doorstep. Obviously you like your van life stuff, which we'll talk upon. But yeah, that's how I got into it. So obviously go into the Dolomites, which is like 20 times, you know, handsome than maybe Snowdonia National Park. Yeah. That's what really gets to do it. But I kind of feel like I put myself now into like a hole. On my Instagram, it's just full of just like all this pretty landscape stuff. But then if I now go and put like a product reel or something on there, it's just going to kind of mess up the whole like flow of it. Because originally...
Do you care about that though? Do you care about the grid?
No, I did for a little bit because I originally had 3 tile grids. So I basically take a thumbnail and like... 2 pictures either side, and then a video was the middle one. But then you just get bored of it, don't you?
Well, it's just so restrictive. Like as creators, we like to be expressive and try different things, and it's exactly why I don't turn down projects that aren't just outdoorsy ones, because we like to stretch our creative muscles. We get bored. Everyone gets bored. Like you can tell me all you want that like shooting the same river every single day of your life would be fun, but I guarantee it wouldn't be. Like boring. We like doing different things, so. I think you should just embrace it and just be like, it's a mismatch of clients that I've worked
because I haven't even put any of this podcast stuff up on.
No, but that's going to look wildly different again.
Yeah, because it's just going to be mental.
Yeah. But that's why I think it's like you can always find a commonality between the stuff that you do. And for me, generally, color grading, colors, that's generally like the thing that ties it all together, like music and colors. But if you're looking at it from a visual standpoint, if you put all my stuff next to each other, even podcast visuals would look a certain way. So I think you could tie it together still. It would be looser.
Yeah, I could try.
But I think you should just post it and just see what happens.
Yeah, I'll just do it just for the sake of it. But obviously, talking about like obviously me off the Dolomites, you're a big lover of your outdoors and stuff like that. Obviously, hence why native is combined with, you know, the outdoors kind of video aspect. But obviously, your van life in a lot at the moment. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so my goal was always, when I worked in Bristol when I was a junior, I said to people in my office, like, I'm going to get a van, then I'm going to get a wife. Like, that was kind of like the running
Van
joke.
wife life.
Was like, people were going to like, you're never ever going to find anyone who wants to live in a van with you, you're an idiot. And like, luckily, I mean...
Lockdown happened and everyone wanted a van.
Everyone changed their mind. They were like, van life doesn't look so bad, does it? But no, so the van that I've got is not, for everyone out there who doesn't understand, like, kind of where I'm at, is... It's not like the huge, really tall ones you can stand up in. It's like, it's a good size. You can live in it fairly comfortably for like 1 or 2 days, but after that, you'd probably want some more space. So for me, it's a really good tool as an outdoor videographer to be able to go and live anywhere with a road and have a bed, have a desk, have power, solar panels, you know, like a battery, like things that you can live off. It doesn't have a shower, it doesn't have a toilet. So you are limited by those two things. So campsites generally you'll find me on. But what I really built it for was to be able to film some more of the stuff and be close to the stuff that I like doing the most.
Yeah, because I seen you up at the top of Snowdonia not long ago doing a time lapse, weren't you? Like
I'm going again this weekend. Yeah. So my girlfriend and me are both big travelers, big surfers, big climbers. We love outdoors stuff, and weirdly that's like the thing that kind of tied us together when we first met. So
cute.
Yeah, but like because of that, like a van just seemed like the right call, because I was like, it's something really cool that I can go and I can be closer to what I need to go to without sleeping in a tent, without any power. Like I can charge my drone, I can charge my phone, I can even get Wi-Fi installed in it if I wanted to, so I could work from wherever. So like that was the big draw to it. And then it's actually proven to just be like a great little media van. Like you can just drive all your kit wherever you want. You can power everything up. You can even run lights from the van to like an influencer outdoors and run lights outdoors if you wanted to. So the amount of times that I basically got now a big bag that sits in my room that has everything I need for a shoot in it. And then I just put that in the van and then go and then it's done. Like instead of me the night before panicking going like, where's that cable? Where's this attachment? Where's this weird matte box like screw that I need? Like I have it all in one bag, so it's quite handy. But yeah, van life was basically just because I'm a kind of a fake van lifer, because I don't really do van life. I live at home and then I just go away for a few days.
So what do you find you enjoy shooting? You know, what do you enjoy shooting the most?
The things that I love doing the most are filming like outdoor documentaries, filming outdoor people. So there's a documentary on YouTube by Patagonia called Fish People, and they interview 3 different people who interact with the sea every day, and their jobs and their lives revolve around the sea. And so effectively, like that documentary is, for anyone who wants to watch it, is very similar to the stuff that I want to be creating. So recently I've had an opportunity to create a proposal for a team that's about to go and do effectively Arctic level expeditions.
You're going to the Arctic?
Well, that's not guaranteed yet, but I put the proposal together. I want to go on the mission.
So what, did someone put it out online and then you bid for it kind of thing? How's that work?
I sort of met someone through a studio who was working for the company in a different sense.
Right, okay.
I talked to them about my outdoorsy stuff.
Yeah.
Not pitching myself, I was just talking about the things that I got up to on the weekend. And they were like, actually, you might be someone who's pretty good for this job that we have coming up, like this random Arctic job that someone needs to go on. What's going on with your mic?
For anyone who don't know, my mic's deciding to spin around, but we're all good now.
And so when I saw this opportunity come up, I realised that I actually need to get more qualifications in like really, really harsh environments, because like I love the idea of one day Native being able to film a project anywhere in the world in any conditions.
Right.
It's like if you could be on Everest or you could be at the bottom of the sea, like I would be able to find a way to make that project work. So for me, it's now this winter is about going on ice pick climbing courses. It's about doing like
you're actually gonna,
extreme
like,
condition
properly
courses. So that I have these qualifications, so that when projects come around that need those skills, I'm ready to go. And so
you're fully niching down into like,
basically
you're like,
and there's no way that there will still be times when I'd work on other projects that don't require those skills. But for me, that would be the coolest place to take my career, would be to go to these extreme environments, film some incredible people in weird places. Like I don't really have an interest in filming wildlife necessarily.
I love wildlife kind of aspect. Have you seen that documentary on Disney Plus? Can't remember the name of the gentleman, but he's a cameraman and he goes and films for obviously Disney, whether it's National Geographic, and
Yeah.
but it follows more behind the scenes of the actual camera operations and how they actually go about setting the shots up and how they go about actually filming, for said program.
Well, you always see those at the end of the Planet Earth or whatever it was.
It's like that. There's like
I need to see this.
6 episodes on there.
That's pretty good, actually. I wouldn't say no. I'd never go and film wildlife, but I think
fully paid trip, go into the safari.
Yeah, you would, wouldn't you? But I mean, I just find people really interesting, and I really like filming.
That's
people.
what I enjoy. I think filming a lot. I rather someone in my footage.
Yeah,
I just film like a property or like a company portfolio of like a restaurant or whatever, but like having someone in there where the viewer can actually see and hear feelings and actually physically view them. That's what interests me the most, is actually people in the content that I shoot.
Having someone in my footage is way better and more fun for me to interview a person and get a personal experience, because weirdly, when I've been up Snowdon now a couple of times, I've been up to different mountains near Snowdon in the dark, ready for sunrise and sat on top of it. It's cool. It's really fun. I'll never get bored of seeing a weird sunrise and being the only person up there at that stupid time in the morning. But what's even more cool is taking someone who's never seen that before and getting their reaction.
Someone's
so it's
face
the
can
same
tell a
with
story.
filming. I think it's the same with filming.
Yeah.
Like film. I actually, when I was in the water filming for Dawnstalkers, doing this film, I was like looking through the viewfinder. You get this look, like when you have a waterproof camera housing on, you don't get like the standard viewfinder at the top is not always the easiest to read. Yeah. So I have that big screen out on the back and like looking through that porthole. And I was filming someone. It was just like enjoying the moment. I didn't realize that anyone was watching me.
Yeah. And
then the guy, one of the founders of Dawnstalkers, was just swimming next to me and just like watching me film. And he was like, "You're having more fun, like filming someone than you are when you get in the water on your own." And I was like, I genuinely think I enjoy experiences more when I'm filming other people enjoying them than I am myself. Yeah, and that might be a bit sad.
No, it's not sad, because I know when I see a shot and I can see the expression of someone's face through the camera, you think, "Fuck, I've nailed this shot." Or not necessarily you nailed it, but this shot is gonna be epic just because they're in it, the way they're interacting with their area and this scenery around them.
But it's like a human being would find, like, there's a reason why films really get me emotional, and there's a reason why seeing someone else go through a story like that a human being could understand how someone might feel in that scenario is so powerful, is because we can connect with other human beings' emotions and thoughts and stuff, and when they see something so authentic and like a really interesting moment that human beings found like incredible, they're like, "Oh, I can imagine myself there," or like your brain automatically just goes, "That's an amazing place," because if that person finds it cool, then I would find it cool.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think there's a real power to it, and that's why it's so valuable to have people in your shots rather than just be like open, empty landscapes.
Because anyone can just point a camera at a landscape. It's like how you like immerse someone into it by telling a story, and you can tend to do that with people in the actual footage. So what's kind of in the pipeline for you? You as an individual, you and your business, like what are you kind of pushing for this year now?
This year is just about filming more stuff outdoors. My goal for this year is to effectively make the company carbon neutral. So effectively just by either offsetting any like travel that I do, any of like the work that I do through being like partnered with the right charities and working with the right sustainable businesses, or by just effectively just trying to negate any emissions that I make. So like I want the brand to fully embody sustainability, future thinking, traveling, like but experiencing the world and helping the world in a positive way. Right. So it's actually just about, this year is about doubling down on the things that I've already started to put the wheels in motion and like making the brand a focus on sustainable and future brands, like doing more outdoors documentaries, maybe producing a full documentary rather than like a short film. And so this year I want to find brands that want to sponsor me to create a documentary series about people. And I really find it interesting I find it really interesting to potentially make a documentary around people that have an outdoor lifestyle. They either partner it with a full-time job that's got nothing to do with their outdoor lifestyle, or travelers and adventurers, photographers, climbers, surfers who have made a career in the outdoors.
That's sick.
And so make the documentary a focal point around that. And
I have to get on board with you, because everything you're saying just like making my interest just like rise, and I'm like, that sounds sick.
But I mean, like, there'll definitely be a case of partnering with other people and like film with other people. So yeah, hopefully I'll get you on something.
Thanks, Ross. If people are looking to kind of follow your story, learn more about you, and like kind of what kind of content you produce, and where can they find you?
Yeah, well, basically on everything it would be Native Social, but like on Instagram I think it's native.social_ or just native social _. Can't remember exactly when. I should know that, but hey ho. But yeah, basically Native Social, you'll find me. And if you want to look at my website, it's just nativesocial.co.uk.
Yeah.
So
thank you very much for coming on. I've really enjoyed this.
No problem. It's been good to be here. So thanks for having me. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. Like I said, if you want to go check out George and what he's doing, head over to his socials. But from me, see you in a bit.